Hi, my name is Colt. I'm the Kansas Furry. Pardon the shady lighting. I don't think I'll ever actually have good lighting. But in today's video, we will be discussing turrets and Christmas trees. Two things which you don't think I'm going to think of shooting sports, but are very important to it. Specifically, long-range precision shooting sports. For today's demonstration, I'll be using a .22 caliber rifle. This is a Ruger Precision. It has an Athlon scope. I do not remember the exact brand, but that is what I'll be using for this particular demonstration. Just to clarify, firearm beforehand has been checked both visually, physically, as in I looked into the chamber to see that there was no rounds no ammo inside. I checked the magazine well to see that there was no magazine in. I then checked it physically using my finger. I stuck a magazine well, there's no magazine. I beforehand stuck my finger in the chamber. I still have gunk on my finger from doing that to feel that there was no case in there. I also have a chamber flag in. It has a little nub on the end, which goes into the chamber, so you can feel that there is nothing in there for sure. So just to clarify, all safety precautions have been taken for this video. I'm not stupid. So first thing we will talk about is turrets. So when you see the sniper movies and the spotter says 2 left, 4 up or something, they're referring to turret. These are turrets. This particular scope has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Technically, although this is technically not necessarily considered a turret, I'm going to use it for the purposes of this demonstration. Now, each turret has a purpose. For instance, this turret, now they vary from scope to scope. Some scopes have fewer, some scopes have extra, but this one is your windage adjustment. Now, turning it one direction, we'll move it to the right. Another direction, we'll move it to the left. Now, what is it moving? It is moving the crosshairs. So instead of having to hold a certain distance, you can set your crosshairs dead on, and it is adjusted accordingly. Now, it is called windage because you need to adjust because of wind. Wind will change the trajectory of your bullets, and thusly needs to be adjusted accordingly. Next, we have your elevation. Now, the purpose of elevation is for shooting at different distance. For instance, if I have a different firearm, Champion 6.5 Creedmoor, it is a long-range caliber, kind of expensive, sadly, but it is specifically designed to be 1,000 yards capable of shooting up to 1,000 yards or meters, depending on which one you ask. I prefer to say meters because that's what my range has for its distances, and plus I can say I can shoot up to 1 kilometer. Well, in order to shoot 1 kilometer, you have to adjust your crosshairs down 8 mil. Now, if I can't really demonstrate on this turret because of where you're located, but mils, there are markings on this turret numbered for mils. Now, each mil translates to 1 centimeter at 100 yards. Now, keep in mind this multiplies to where 1 centimeter at 100 yards is 2 centimeters at 200, 3 centimeters at 300, and so on all the way up to 1,000. So 8 mils of adjustment at 1,000 yards will be 80 centimeters, which is the amount of drop of that particular bullet at that distance. Now, this gun is chambered in .22. I should have an image up somewhere up here showing the differences between the caliber. 8 mils of adjustment on this will get you out to about 200 yards, but it's also because it's a much less powerful cartridge. Anyway, I'm going down a whole different route. But back to the purposes of the turrets. So, should clarify, there is no one on the other side of me, therefore I don't have to worry about pointing my muzzle at someone who I should not. You have this turret, which changes your parallax. Now, it is labeled from 10 all the way out to 500 and then infinity yards. You adjust this to sharpen your image depending on the distance of the target you're shooting at. Now, a fun little feature of this is more precise ones can be used to range your targets, because you turn it until your target is nice and sharp, and then you look at it to see where exactly it is set, and then you have a rough estimation of how far away your target is. Finally, we have this turret. It is numbered from 6 to 24. That is the power of the scope, or the zoom. For instance, right now it's set to 24, which means that if I look through it, I'll be looking at whatever I'm looking at through a magnification of 24. If you're turned down to 6, it will be times 6 magnification. Now you want this to be adjustable for shooting at different distances and different types of shooting. For example, when I'm shooting at, let's say I have 5 targets from 150 to 50 yards, and I have 2 minutes, and I have to shoot 20 rounds. I'm going to want to be able to quickly find and shoot that target. However, if I have, let's say, 1 shot and I have 2 minutes, but the shot is at 300 yards, well, I'm going to want it to be much further zoomed in because of the saying, there's a saying, aim small, miss small. The smaller I am, the smaller of what exactly my area of my field of view is, and thusly my aiming area is, the more likely I am to hit because let's say I'm off by 1 crosshair width. If I am looking at that target at 300 yards with a 24 magnification, the width will be a tenth of the target. So if I'm off by half a crosshair width, whoop-de-doo-dah, it doesn't matter. Now, if I'm looking at it through 6 power and the crosshair width is the same size as the target, if I'm off by half a crosshair, with congratulations, I just missed. So that's where that comes in. Now, finally, we have this turret. Now, this turret is a bit specialized because not all scopes have this. This is because my scope has an illuminated reticle, which means that if I turn it on, the reticle, which is the crosshairs, will light up. This is used for shooting at night. I never actually shot at night, but they're convenient. Reality is wasn't actually a request, but it's just, scope came with it. But it goes from 1 to 11. That is the brightness of your reticle. Great for shooting at night. Makes it similar to a red dot sight is the idea. But of course I usually have it at 0 because I don't need it. And it wastes battery. So that was a brief overview of turrets. Now I should have popping up on screen a picture of a Christmas tree, as it is, at least that's what I've always heard it called. I don't know what the proper term, if that is the proper term or not. But if you see, it has different lines at different levels, and a line is moving off. Now what those lines indicate is 1 mil in those particular directions. So let's say in the previous analogy of I have 2 minutes to shoot 20 rounds at targets at 50, 100, and 150 yards. So I know that at 50 yards I need to hold dead on. At 100 yards I need to hold 2 mils of elevation. And at 150 I need to have, let's say, 4 mils of elevation. I don't remember what exactly it is. It's been a while since I've gone to a competition. Well, instead of having to adjust my scope, which means I have to look away from the target, I have to raise my head, look at my turret, and adjust it, I can instead use those lines, which correspond to these same lines on my turret, for my elevation. And I can use that as crosshairs in order to save time and be more efficient. Another thing which those can be used for is for ranging targets, because you can have a rough idea of, let's say you know your target is 10 centimeters tall, and if it takes up 10 mils of space, you know that it is 100 yards away. But if it takes up 1 mil of space, you know it is roughly 1,000 yards, if I'm not mistaken. Keep in mind, I never used this, and I may be wrong, but that's the rough idea premise that it uses. So that was turrets and Christmas trees. Hopefully you enjoyed. Hopefully you learned something new and interesting. As previously mentioned, to talk about shooting sports, it is a major hobby of mine and something which I do for fun. So hopefully you've enjoyed. Have a good day. Stay safe. I'll see y'all next time. Bye.